I know you're a young guy. How old are you now?
23.
Okay, yeah, you're pretty young. So what is the story for you? Like you're on your third swing. It doesn't seem like the conventional route was ever really an option for you. What was your upbringing like that led to this entrepreneurial adventure, and why have you decided to I guess swing for the fences?
Oof, great questions. Okay, without spending too much time, my upbringing, my mom was a public school teacher, and my dad was a psychologist working for the government, making like 35 grand a year, my dad. And then he quit and wanted to build his own thing. And he started a psychology center where he would diagnose children with learning disabilities. And for many years, the parents would ask, like, okay, like, thank you for diagnosing my child. It's good to know that they have a processing disorder. What do I do? And unfortunately, like at the time, the only thing that my dad and psychologists around the country could say is, here is paperwork that will allow your child to be put in a special ed class and get extra testing for time. Nothing that actually like solved the underlying issue. So my dad basically traveled the country and pulled together a lot of research and built what we call these brain training programs that literally work out like targeted muscles in the brain, just like when you go to lift weights in a simplified form. And so he built an incredible lifestyle business, emphasis on lifestyle. And it's been really cool to see the impact that he makes on kids and families, but also that he built something from nothing. Um, and so anyway, when I was like 12 years old, I started to get into computers, well, programming, and I like basically pitched my dad on giving me $100 so I could buy like an Apple a developer account. And I bought Objective C for Dummies. I like pitched him for 30 minutes. He said yes, and it was like a really huge deal because at that time he was just starting his company. We didn't really have like go out to restaurant money, and so I like went all in on that. And I think like that year or the next year was technically my first global, not company, but like project. In that I would get really involved in these online game development forums. And I was under an alias. People had no idea I was 12, and I would help them solve bugs, and they would PayPal me $20. And this one guy hired me to build a game for him and his son. And I hired a engineer in Italy and a designer in Portugal, and we got to work. And I was like this. It was all over email. If he heard my voice, he would have he would have known in a second. But so that was kind of my first time building technology in a business perspective, and it just happened to be literally pure irony that it technically was like a global quote unquote initiative. So anyway, I was doing that, and then fast forward, I'm at the University of Florida. When I'm there, I'm spending most of my time doing two things, neither of which was academics. Not to say that I was a A and B student, but I spent my time doing two things. Number one was I was president of my fraternity, and number two is I was coaching speech and debate. So I was a good speech and debate competitor in high school. I was the number one ranked speaker in the country my junior year. Then my senior year, my high school, because I was not because, but that I was captain of my senior year was the number one ranked team in the country. When I went to college, I had the privilege of being invited to coach a school in Miami, and so I did that. It took up a lot of my time. I was Skyping my students throughout the week, flying around the country a lot of weekends, and I loved it. And I did well. The kids won, and it was fantastic. And I got to kind of relive and keep having fun in the debate world, which I love. But it took up a lot of my time, and I was never making time to cook food for myself. So I was ordering delivery all the time, and that's why I started Chef It, to basically make it so that you can have an in-home personal chef for the same price as food delivery. We found a lot of inefficiencies in the personal chef market, and we were like, if we constrain them to a very limited menu, they could actually buy ingredients in bulk. You could order from them fast like Uber Eats. They could come in, cook family style, leave, and go home to home in a neighborhood and be like hyper efficient. Um, and that's how I got to Chef It. I am skipping. I skipped a little bit. I apologize. Before I started Chef It, I actually started a company called Season Pass, and it was, I don't know if you guys remember Movie Pass, but Movie Pass was like my absolute favorite thing. For the listeners, Movie Pass was I think a $10 a month subscription where you can go to the movie theaters free of charge. It was like an offline version of Netflix. And I loved it. It like got me and my friends out and hanging out way more often than we otherwise would have, just because of budget. And I put all of my savings that I had coming into college into the MoviePass stock, and I watched it all tank. It was like an all in or nothing type of thing. That's just the types of bets that I like to take. It's like asymmetrical upside. It was like, look, if I lose this, like, who cares? It's the savings that I have coming into my freshman year of college. Like in the bigger picture, it's nothing. But if it works, like, oh, that's cool. That'll accelerate some things that I want to do. So I was in Israel, in the literal desert. I was in the Bedouin tents and watching the MoviePass stock like absolutely tank. And long story short, I was on StockTwits, which is like a Twitter for stocks, and I saw on the MoviePass channel or newsfeed somebody posted the cell phone number of I think his name is Adam Aaron, the CEO of AMC. So I texted Adam and I pretended to be a shareholder of AMC. And I was like, look, I don't want you guys to turn to the next blockbuster. I really think you guys should strike a deal with MoviePass, like whatever, whatever. And he responded, which I was not expecting. And it was very thoughtful. And I was like totally time screwed, literally like in the middle of the desert, many, many hours on the bus that day, whatever. And so I go to like start typing out a response to him. And before I knew it, the guy called me. I was like so not ready for this. But he made it very, very clear that AMC and none of the other major theaters would ever strike a deal with MoviePass. It screwed up their economics, and MoviePass was burning a lot of money, and they were just going to die. The premise there is that again, MoviePass was charging $10 a month, and they were paying full price whenever you went to see a movie. They were spending the $15 anytime you wanted to go get a ticket. I think the average person was going like 3 times a month. They were like burning crazy amounts of money. Their hope was that they would bring so many more people back to the movies and that these people would buy concessions when they were there, and you would, because it felt like you were getting there for free, so you were much more willing to pay for stupidly priced concessions, that the theaters would create some sort of revenue split with them. And that was their idea. So they were burning money in the hopes of getting so much demand, which they did. Like the user count was absolutely exploding, that the theaters would strike a deal with them. And Adam made it clear that they would not do that. And the thing that I learned about the movie theater industry while watching that stock fall and reading into every piece of research I could find on it is that the movie theater industry was super consolidated. So it's like only 4 companies, AMC, Movie Co, and like 2 other, Regal and one more, own like 95% of the theaters. So they just had to hold on, and MoviePass was going to die. So long story short, my buddy and I were jamming, and we realized that live events, meaning concerts, theater, sporting events, these types of things were all, for the most part, independently owned. So it would be much easier to do a movie. It would have to be like a much more premium subscription. We were targeting like $60 a month. But at first we were like, let's see if we can get in contact with the CEO of MoviePass and convince him to look at an opportunity where they would have more negotiating power. And then we were like, screw it, let's just do it ourselves. So that was Season Pass. I spent like 10 months on that before launching anything. Total waste of time. We were trying to like strike deals with local arenas and stuff, and it wasn't happening. And, we were just wasting so much time that we were like, let's just fake it. So we put up a website, and we decided that we would pay full price for these tickets if somebody asked to use them, just because it would at least allow us to test the demand. Would somebody even buy this subscription? And the crazy thing is the thing that kept us going all those 10 months is we did a survey. We surveyed like 1,000 people. We told them exactly what we wanted to build and how much it would cost. And it was like a stupid number of them. I think like 70% of people said they would pay for it. So you're like, oh my God, product market fit up the wazoo. But it's a very different game between asking people if they would buy something and then actually asking them to open up their wallet and pay you for it. So long story short, when we faked it to make it happen and launched, not a single person bought it. I literally called everybody in my phone book. No one bought it. I found a guy on Twitter, and I was like, I'll buy your first months for free. So I basically just gave him a bunch of tickets to live events for free for an entire month. And then he didn't renew month 2. And so my lesson learned there was like, work way faster. I could have, debunked that startup in 2 weeks. And so with Chefit, we launched, within, I want to say 8 weeks of ideation, and something similar with Panther as well.